Hello, everybody. Matt DeCoursey here. It is the 24th of April, sometime early in the morning. Been up working for a while. And we're going to do a quick installment about the proper way to plan for your new business. And I want you guys to listen pretty carefully here because I'm going to give you some really important advice. And if you don't follow it, you really might regret it. So, anyway, when you're planning for your new business, you need to make a budget. You need to go through your expenses that you know you're going to have. You need to try to figure out the ones that you're probably going to have, and then we're going to also add some padding. So, why is this important? Well, when people aren't experienced at owning or starting a business, they make a lot of rookie mistakes. And one of those is operating your business with a plan that is based on optimism and not realism. And I want that to stop right now. So, here's a few things that if you catch yourself doing them, you need to step back and take one shot of reality. And as much as I love your optimism and your enthusiasm, we also want you to operate within safe standards for starting your business. The reason this is important is you have X amount of capital. The very beginning stages of your business are going to be the most expensive and also have the lowest revenue. So if you swing and miss here, you're going to have problems right out the gate. So what happens when you run into those problems? You get forced to take investment at a far lower valuation than you might want. You might go out of business. You might put yourself in a hole that is just really tough to climb out of, and you'll find yourself struggling to do so for a really long time. And then the final part is you might just do these plans and calculations and realize that the business wasn't quite what you wanted it to be. So I've gotten pretty specific years later in my ability to plan for this. And actually, one of the businesses that that I participate in, a moving company called Fitness Delivery Experts. One of the I own 1/3 of it, and I have a partner named Charlie, who great guy, hardworking dude. And was kind of new to business ownership. And when we sat down to do a lot of the planning, which he was very receptive to, very much wanted me involved due to my experience, and I wanted to be involved with him because hardworking guy. But some of the things I really tried to drive home were the need to overestimate your initial expenses. Now, we've been operating that business for about 7 weeks now, and this week we went through and did a little reeval on the expenses, and man, was I really surprised. I was off by $250 on $9,900. So I feel pretty comfortable being that close in the estimate, and that was a reality estimate. So now I've been doing this for a while. Have you? Because if you haven't, you probably are forgetting a whole slew of expenses that you're about to run into. So let's go over a couple of those and a few of the warning signs. Let's do a warning sign first. If you find yourself making statements like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna definitely be making sales right away," reality time. It's you should go ahead and plan as if you aren't going to make a sale for a while. I say this a lot, but you have to understand your path to revenue. It is a lot harder than you think it is. Now, if you're opening a franchise like a Subway or something like that, that's got a lot of brand recognition and you're in a high trafficked area, you're going to have revenue right away. It doesn't mean you're going to make any money, but you're going to have some revenue right away. If you are doing something like a startup or a software company, you might be a couple years away from revenue and you might not even find any at all. If that's the business model you're choosing, I absolutely encourage you to operate on a shoestring in the beginning. Getting that first dollar is a long time. With Gigabook, it took us 18 months. It might not seem like a big deal when you have a service that you charge like $8 a month, like we do with Gigabook. You will be absolutely shocked at how hard it is to get someone to give you $8. And you're thinking here, oh man, I have something that they need and something that they want and all this and all that. If it doesn't do what it needs to do, you're not getting the money. So anyway, being overly optimistic in the beginning about when your revenue comes in, big warning sign. Time to step back and try to figure out how you're going to handle it and how you're going to deal with it if you get 6 months in and you're way off. Now, I'm going to drop a little vocab on you here. You have the term called burn rate, and this is very popular in startup culture, especially businesses that don't expect to have revenue, sizable revenue, any revenue, or positive cash flow. So the term burn rate, it means exactly what it sounds. At what rate are you going to burn the capital that you have? So let's say that you have $12 in capital. We're going to make this a very easy example, and your expenses are $1 a month. Your burn rate is 12 months. It will take you 12 months to spend your $12 at the rate of $1 a month. So know your burn rate. Now, some other things that people commonly skip over when starting their business is, okay, first off, insurance. If you haven't budgeted to have insurance on your business, you need to go back and add that in. For first-time business owners that have never had a payroll before, you have tax liability that you owe associated with every employee at your enterprise. Now, it's easy to make this estimate. There is a very adequately named term called burden rate that will help you kind of estimate what these taxes are. So, and they're different in every state. So when it comes to your federal taxes, and honestly, I don't even know what the percentage is, but if you're going to provide a 401k, insurance, and cover the taxes, you might want to just estimate around 20%. That's right, 20% of every dollar that you pay an employee is going to then be tacked onto that, and that's your real payroll expense. So yeah, it's a lot. If you didn't know that, you're welcome, because I've seen a lot of people not really realize that, and I'm just shocked at how many people I've run into over the last 10 years that don't know that. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be shocked. I didn't know it until the first time I had to pay it. But if you're running a tight calculation and you don't have that in there, now if you put the burden rate in, you do something like 20%, that's typically going to cover the taxes for just taxes and things like workman's comp, insurance, and other stuff like that. I usually go with a rate of around 11. That's a little high. I always estimate my expenses high. And let's talk about that for a second. You would much, much, much rather be wrong about overestimating your expenses than be wrong the other way. One is a pleasant wrong. The other is an oh, wow, wrong. Okay, so that being said, burden rate. Add it on. If you have someone making $100 in a week, then you need to estimate that costs you $120. That goes for yourself too. All right, so other things. And when you first start a business, you're going to have a whole lot of one-time and first-time expenses. And since we've recently started this or became a partner in this fitness delivery business, I'm going to use it as an example. So we're talking about starting your new business and some of the one-time expenses that can occur. Now, anytime you have a new business, you're just going to be riddled with these things. And these are the things that you buy one time, or things, and I'm going to use the fitness delivery company that I've just become a partner in. And for example, I had to buy a box truck, and this is a $40,000 vehicle, and then I had $4,500 worth of sales tax and other taxes due. That's a perfect example of a one-time expense. And with the company, now fortunately, this was a company that came with some revenue, so we were able to absorb that and not really take too big of a dent out of the initial investment that I made, which I'm happy about because it did well right off the bat. But anyway, anytime you have $4,500 worth of sales tax, you're really happy to not see that in subsequent months. So other things, when we'll use my real life example of the fitness company again, is so here in the building that I'm in right now, this company rents the warehouse space that I have in the back. And we had to buy a pallet jack. We had to buy a whole bunch of other crap and stuff and things to tie the equipment to the side of the truck, and just a whole bunch of things, uniforms. Then the movers were, we want them to be a little more uniform, and I just like them to look cool. So we bought them some black Air Jordans, and we didn't need to do that. I just like them to look better, and they'd been working really hard. But anyway, you're going to have a lot of one-time expenses, software, equipment, deposits, down payments. Like depending on what you do, you're probably going to have print costs, all of the supplies and equipment that might last you for a really long time. You probably don't have. Do you have more than 20 envelopes right now? Because you might need some more. And that's my point. So all this stuff kind of adds up. It's kind of like when you go to the grocery store and you get to the checkout and you're like, huh? This is $400? So, you can run into that a lot with your business. So if you're inexperienced with estimating your opening costs, I recommend that you come up with everything you can, and then you scour the internet, talk to people, do everything you can to get as much input and advice as you can for like what you're going to need to start this business. And I want you to come up with a number, and then I want you to double it, because that's probably what you really need. If you are unsure or inexperienced with starting a business, then that's a formula you really need to go with. Because like I said, you're going to be a lot happier about being wrong about that than being on the other side of it. So, getting back into the, whole, other expenses you're going to run into is, okay, you might have a $25,000, advertising cost associated with, a grand opening. And that's another thing too. If you haven't budgeted for it, just because you build it doesn't mean they will come. So you need to have some kind of budget or allotment for, promoting and announcing your new business and the fact that it's even there. It's a big internet. And, Google and the other search engines, they're not going to give you any street cred just for having a new website. In fact, I'm probably going to do another session here and talk about some of that. But, you gotta make a budget and be prepared to promote your new business as well. So, and then I guess the final note that I say is you will operate with the least amount of efficiency, at least I hope, when your business first opens. And that just has a lot to do with the fact that you or your new employees don't know what you're doing yet. So the idea with gaining more experience and, being a scientist when it comes to owning and operating your business is that you want to constantly be getting better. So you're probably not going to be real good on day one. Anyway, hopefully you found a few things in here that keep your new business safe and put you on a path towards riches. See ya.